John Riley, researcher with 0 Point Research. Today is Tuesday, October 23rd, 2012, and I'm here to talk about the next level of emergence of solar activity in regards to our solar consciousness and how it's going to affect us as humans in our reality-based system and the way that we see things. We are at this point, and I think the best way that we can call this is revelations, or best put, solar revelations. And when we understand what that term means throughout the time that it's been written, the first part of the word is to reveal. And we are seeing this in the greatness that this reveal is bringing forth at the time of the new elections, the new cycle. This is kind of a great time if we have our eyes open in what we are seeing. We are seeing the ones that have been behind the curtains are now revealing themselves, and they are faltering because their agendas can no longer, if it's based on a lower frequency, to assimilate and to keep people tethered and controlled into beliefs that no longer raise the vibration of the human spirit, the human intelligence. They will start to trip, they will start to stumble, and they will reveal themselves. And us, as the ones that are looking to them, will realize that they're not speaking in this what we call the frequency of truth. So this is actually a great time if we are watching the elections, if we are watching the what we call politicians and the methods of what politics are. And this is kind of a very interesting time because now we see the uproars that are happening pretty much from every corner. So, when we look at the system or the mechanisms of the choices that we have, we can almost see the similarities, and they almost have the same agendas. So this is where it's getting very interesting. And so, of course, I'm not a politician. I will not associate this with politics, but we have to kind of start looking at it from that point of reference and seeing what's happening. Now, let's take it outside ourselves and let's move from a much bigger picture. Let's look at the solar activity. Recently, AR 1598 has emerged, which is an Earth-facing sunspot. And yesterday, it unleashed a very large X-ray flare that is actually Earth-facing. Whether the secondary effect will hit the planet or will hit the atmosphere of the planet or the magnetosphere is still undetermined. It was a very large flare. I think it was a 1.8 in the X-flare measurements. So what that means, that's going to be a wide disbursement. When we look at it and how this affects us, we have to understand that the frequencies that we oscillate in and what the planetary frequencies oscillate in and the cycle that we have been oscillating in for several thousand years, we are moving into this upcycle. Now this upcycle, of course, will bring almost every frequency with it. And there's really no choice in the matter when we understand what happens when we look at our solar system, when we look at the bigger picture outside of the universal aspects. This is a grandiose effect that will affect all life on this planet, including the planet itself. So when the Earth-based frequencies shift, the life on it, in agreement with this harmony, will shift with it as well. And when we understand this, it's very similar to realize that you can see the cage. When you raise your vibration, all of a sudden you can see the cage that you were trapped in, and had no realization that you were literally limited within a frequency cage your entire life. Now, once this is revealed for each individual, it's going to be a very different aspect in the realization, in their awareness. Now that you realize that we have been in this cage, it is your choice from that moment on. How are you going to proceed in this path? Are you going to go and rattle the cage and try to break free, or are you going to just realize that the cage exists and then adjust your life accordingly to this caging understanding, or are you going to rise above it and to transcend past that and to allow the next level to reveal? This is where it gets tricky in the aspect, because sometimes the cage is revealed, the illusion of our entire life can come imploding on us or collapsing on us. And we have to be very careful about that. We have to look and come into realization and prepare ourselves that no matter what your belief is, your path on this life, we are going to the next level. We are going to unfold on a higher aspect. So this is where we have to understand this and prepare ourselves. Now, we don't have the exact precision of what is going to happen. And this is where it's very important, is for us to open and to align and to allow ourselves to be ready for the shift that we are going to choose. I've journeyed around this planet and noticed that certain philosophies that have been ingrained for thousands of years are coming into many similarities. One of the aspects that I realized when I was in India and was speaking to the sages or the sadhus or siddhas there, they all realize that there are many realities that can be playing out, and they believe that there's about 120 of them. In this moment of the decision, when you're viewing this video, if you sit and realize that there's 120 movements from the moment you complete watching this video that you can take. And most people don't do this when they step back and look at the choices. We always have choices. Our brains, our consciousness is always moving through randomization and looking for the highest path. But it will only align to the frequency that we allow. And this is where it gets very interesting. Some people see the repetitive pattern over and over and over again, especially in relationships. So you keep saying, well, how come the relationship is ending, this relationship ended like the one before, and the one before, and the one before. If we start seeing those patterns, we have to realize that the common denominator comes back here. And then we have to realize that the change has to come within. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. It's always interesting. But I want to kind of explain this in a way where it will be absorbed, where you will understand. It's not about teaching. It's just a matter of complete realization of the path. It's the only way that I've accumulated this information is to walk and to be very open and to be very receiving, to be an observer on this planet. And that allows me to remember. So this is where it's getting very interesting. We're at a very incredible time on this planet where when we understand the revelations that are actually coming, the agendas that are being revealed. People before you will start to reveal themselves. And this is something that's going to be very interesting. Right now, there are so many people around you, and you have no idea at this point in time that they are keeping so much kept within that they're at this point where they're either going to reveal it and they're going to release it, and it's going to come forth on their own terms, in their own words, or it will erupt around them. And I have personally witnessed this in the last few weeks of life here on this planet, and that is just to be the observer. Now, when this information is revealed to us, then we come online, we come involved in this energy, and we have to make a choice of what we see as the outcome. And this is where this is the level that we've all been preparing for, is now when we see these patterns, when we see these reveals, no matter what they are, it is up to us to look and to choose the frequency of outcome. Now, if we just go back into the old patterns and engage that energy and kind of retaliate that energy, we will stay within that same frequency, and we will not gain a higher understanding. But if we look and realize that this is the time, this is what we've been preparing. We've been clearing ourselves. We've been the observers. We've been emerging our vibration to step up and to be symbolisms of change on this planet. To be guides in many ways. To only walk people up to the doors of their highest potential, not to push them through, not to impose beliefs of what we feel. We have to remove those beliefs, and we just have to walk into that purity or that higher divine consciousness that is able for all of us to tap at this point in time. But we have to make that choice. So I promise you, many of you are going through this cycle now. And believe me, I have kept a lot of it to myself, but I've been transparent at the same time. And so this level of transparency is very important at this time. This is what we've truly been preparing ourselves for, is to remove any levels of blockages or illusions that keep us from being in the harmony, in the unity of life, of all the souls that are on this planet. This is kind of the most delicate part of this mission, of this emergence, of this revelations. And we have to slowly take the steps. But what will serve you the highest is to always, in that fabric moment of time is to take a step back and to remove yourself from the ego. Realize that the ego will want to engage, and it'll immediately act on a very frequencies of familiarity that it's used to. And this is where we have to step back and look at it from a higher standpoint. And we have that, then we have that ability to be the observer and to look at the higher outcome. And it will come. There's no doubt. We have this opportunity to tap this higher level of consciousness that is literally skimming most of us, that are just it's just moving right past us. And if we can raise ourselves, then all of a sudden we will start to shift into this consciousness. Now, this is hard to explain until you achieve it. And once it's achieved, you'll understand that the picture of that we have been surrounded in, or our level of wakefulness, will expand. And now we will have a bigger picture of everything around us. So this is kind of important. And I just wanted to share this information. And I wanted to take a step back, and also feeling really guided to put this out there, because I really feel that this is, of course, when we look at the frequency of where we're at in relation to the elections on this planet, to the world awareness of what is happening here in the United States, to all the global activity that's happening in the Middle East. We are about ready where it's going to happen on a very 3D level, but also in a 5-dimensional level. We're going to jump to 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to be able to see this. But what's going to happen is something that's going to be profoundly shifting on this planet within the next 7 days. And it might come from the mouth of the President of the United States, and everyone's going to take a step back when this is announced. And I'm pretty sure that this is really going to happen. Everything, in my higher guidance says to speak this, and just to leave it there, and to see what will happen within the next 7 days on this planet. And it will send a frequency around the planet, without a doubt. And it's going to be a symbolism of change. And from that point, we have to take that information and realize what, in association, what that is for us, and what its meaning is, and what we do with it from there. Some of you might already have the answers, and knowing what your path is, and realizing that I'm just going to continue on this path. It's perfect, and I'm going to just ride this in its highest of beauty. Some of us might be a little shocked by it, and take a step back and go, what's going on? But nonetheless, if we take that step back and review, and subdue the ego, honor it in many ways, and then allow our higher consciousness to take the place, we will see the tools that are achievable to us now more than ever, that will allow us to transcend lower frequencies and to literally bring that higher vibration into our actual actions in what we do in our own beings. So that's really it for today. Be aware of the solar activity. We are about ready to take a step up. I have a feeling for the next 4 days it's going to be continuous. And so we will have a lot of effects that are going to happen planetarily. And of course, stay at your highest vibration. Working your levels of transparency. And what transparency means is to be transparent. Literally speak in your words of clarity so people understand that you are human. That you are living a life as a human on this planet, and people can relate. And you'll be very surprised the more we become transparent, how transparency will follow in others. And this is where we'll be able to connect the dots. And that's it for now. So enjoy this ride. Be at your highest. Blessings.